Ladies and gentlemen, every single morning you are given a choice to wake up and live the same day you lived yesterday, or to wake up and create the life you've always dreamed of. Most people open their eyes and immediately let stress, fear, and doubt control their minds. But what if I told you that in less than 2 minutes, by speaking the right words to yourself, you could shift your energy, ignite your confidence, and set the tone to dominate your entire day? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share are 14 powerful declarations that can rewire your mind, fuel your spirit, and make you unstoppable from the moment you rise. And imagine waking up every morning, not just to another day, but to another chance, another opportunity, another shot at creating the life you want. Most people roll out of bed and immediately fall into the same pattern, checking their phone, worrying about what they didn't finish yesterday, already stressing about what's coming today. That's how you start the day, in reaction mode. But if you want to take control of your life, you have to take control of your mornings. And it starts with what you tell yourself. Words have power. The language you use shapes the way you feel, and the way you feel shapes the actions you take. When you shift your internal dialogue, you shift your entire life. And every morning before the world comes rushing in, before emails, notifications, and responsibilities start demanding your attention, you need to center yourself with words that empower you, words that condition your mind and body for victory. It's like priming a pump. What you put in first determines what flows out all day long. So let's walk through 14 powerful things you can tell yourself every single morning to set your life on fire and step into the day like the unstoppable force you are. And first, tell yourself, today is a gift. Remind yourself the tone. And no matter what happened yesterday, you've been given another sunrise, another chance to live, to breathe, to create, to grow. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. When you begin your day by recognizing life itself as a gift, you shift your mind out of lack and into abundance. And when you live in abundance, your energy radiates differently. And second, tell yourself, I am in control of my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions. Life will throw distractions, challenges, and negativity at you, but your power lies in knowing that nothing outside of you has control over what happens inside of you. When you claim ownership of your mental and emotional state, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the creator of your destiny. And third, affirm, I am stronger than I think, because most people have no idea how powerful they really are until they're tested. You've overcome things in your past that you once thought would break you, and here you are, standing, breathing, growing. Remind yourself of that strength every morning so that when challenges come, you don't crumble, you rise. And fourth, say to yourself, I am worthy of success, love, and happiness. So many people sabotage their own potential because deep down they don't believe they deserve it. If you carry unworthiness into the day, you'll unconsciously reject opportunities, love, and growth. But when you declare your worthiness every morning, you rewire your brain to accept what life wants to give you. And fifth, tell yourself, I can and I will. There's a power in those words. They're simple, but they ignite determination. They leave no room for hesitation. When you say, I can, you give yourself permission. When you say, I will, you commit to action. Together, they create momentum. And sixth, affirm, I choose progress over perfection. Perfection is a trap that paralyzes people. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, and in doing so, they waste their lives. Progress is where power lives. One step forward, no matter how small, creates motion, and motion creates momentum. Tell yourself every morning that progress is enough, and you'll find yourself achieving far more than you imagined. And seventh, remind yourself, obstacles are opportunities. Every challenge you face isn't there to destroy you. It's there to strengthen you, to teach you, to shape you into the person you need to become. When you shift your perspective on obstacles, they stop being walls and start being doors. Every problem becomes a chance to level up. And eighth, declare, I radiate energy and confidence. Your body responds to the way you speak about yourself. If you tell yourself you're tired, drained, or overwhelmed, your physiology will follow. But if you affirm energy and confidence, you'll carry yourself with strength, and that energy will not only elevate you, but everyone around you. And ninth, tell yourself, I am focused and I will execute. It's one thing to dream and visualize, but execution is where dreams become reality. Focus is the ability to channel your energy into what matters most. When you commit to execution every morning, you set the tone to stop procrastinating and start producing. And 10th, say, I am grateful for who I am becoming. Too often we get caught in who we were yesterday or who we think we should already be. But life is about becoming. When you show gratitude not only for what you have, but for who you're evolving into, you create a deep sense of fulfillment in the journey, not just the destination. And 11th, remind yourself, My past does not define me. Too many people drag the weight of their past into their future. But you are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not your pain. Every morning, release yourself from the chains of yesterday and step into the truth that your future is wide open and your past has only prepared you for this moment. And 12th, tell yourself, I am surrounded by abundance. Scarcity is a lie. The world is filled with opportunities, connections, resources, and possibilities, but you will only see what you condition your mind to see. If you wake up looking for scarcity, you'll find it everywhere. If you wake up affirming abundance, you'll see opportunities others miss. And 13th, affirm, I will give more than I take today. Contribution is the secret to fulfillment. Success without giving is empty. Every morning, remind yourself that your life isn't just about what you get, but about what you give. Your energy, your kindness, your love, your skills. When you show up to serve, life has a way of rewarding you far beyond what you give. And then finally, 14th, say to yourself, I am unstoppable. Not because life won't try to stop you, but because you refuse to quit. Unstoppable doesn't mean unchallenged. It means relentless. It means no matter how many times you fall, you get back up. No matter how hard it gets, you keep moving. That's the mindset of champions. And imagine starting every single morning with these 14 declarations. Imagine the energy, the confidence, the gratitude, and the drive that would flood your body before you even step out the door. Most people let their mornings control them, but when you choose to control your mornings, you control your destiny. These aren't just words. They're weapons. They're tools. They're anchors that keep you strong when life tries to shake you. They're fuel that lights your fire and keeps it burning all day long. And so every morning before you touch your phone, before you open your email, before the world makes its demands of you, stand tall, breathe deep, and speak life into your soul. These words are not just reminders. They are commands. Commands to your mind. Commands to your body, commands to your destiny. And when you repeat them with conviction, with energy, with absolute certainty, you will not just start your day, you will own it. And when you own your mornings, you own your life. And when you begin to practice this daily ritual, something extraordinary happens. You reprogram your subconscious mind because repetition is the mother of skill. The more you tell yourself these truths, the more they sink into your nervous system until they stop being words and start becoming your identity. And when something becomes your identity, you no longer have to force it. You simply live it. You no longer struggle to be confident. You embody confidence. You no longer try to chase abundance. You magnetize abundance. That's the power of conditioning your mind every morning. And think about it. Most people spend their mornings conditioning themselves the wrong way. They wake up and immediately focus on everything they don't have, everything they have to do, everything they fear might go wrong. And that becomes their state for the rest of the day. They wonder why they feel drained, anxious, or powerless, but they don't realize they've been programming themselves with disempowering thoughts from the very start. You're different. You now know that the first words you speak to yours, Elf, when you wake up, set the trajectory of your day. And when you start the day in power, that power follows you into every conversation, every decision, and every challenge. And you might think, can it really be this simple, just saying these things to myself every morning? The answer is yes, but with one important detail. It's not about saying them like empty phrases. It's about embodying them, feeling them, declaring them with energy. Your body, your voice, your breath, use them all. Stand tall, breathe deeply, speak with conviction. Because your brain doesn't respond to lukewarm words. It responds to emotion. Emotion is what locks these truths into your nervous system. And let's go deeper. When you tell yourself today is a gift, you're not just practicing gratitude. You're anchoring yourself to the present moment. So many people live their lives trapped in the past or anxious about the future, but the present is where your power lives. Every morning, remind yourself that this exact day will never come again. This sunrise is unique. This breath is irreplaceable. When you start your morning with that kind of awareness, the petty stresses lose their grip on you. You stop taking life for granted and you start living it fully. And when you declare, I am in control of my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions, you are reclaiming your sovereignty. Most people live like puppets, pulled by the strings of other people's opinions, news headlines, or whatever mood they wake up in. But you are not a puppet. You are the master of your state. And here's the truth. If you can control your state, you can control your destiny. Because the quality of your state determines the quality of your decisions. And your decisions shape your life. This is why every morning you remind yourself of your power to choose how you think, how you feel, and how you act. And when you tell yourself, hey, I am stronger than I think, you're awakening a dormant giant inside of you. Because strength isn't built only in the gym. It's built in the moments you choose to push through when your mind says stop. It's built when you show up even when it's hard, when you keep moving even when it hurts. Every time you push past your perceived limits, you expand what's possible for you. By reminding yourself of your strength every morning, you're preparing yourself to face the day, not with fear, but with certainty that no matter what comes, you have what it takes. And when you affirm, I am worthy of success, love, and happiness, you are rewriting the story that so many people carry. Stories of unworthiness planted by past experiences, failures, or the opinions of others. Worthiness isn't something you earn, it's something you claim. And the moment you declare it every morning, you give yourself permission to step into the opportunities, the relationships, and the joy that life has to offer. Because until you see yourself as worthy, you will unconsciously reject the very things you desire most. And when you say, I can and I will, you're creating a contract with yourself. It's not a suggestion. It's not a wish. It's a commitment. That phrase flips a switch in your brain. It shifts you from hesitation into action. And action is the cure for fear. Action is the path to mastery. When you declare that you will, you silence the doubts and you tell your mind and body, this is happening. And when you remind yourself, I choose progress over perfection, you are freeing yourself from one of the greatest traps of all, paralysis by analysis. Perfection is just fear dressed up in fancy clothes. It's fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. But progress doesn't demand perfection. It only demands movement. Every morning when you choose progress, you choose growth. You choose to step forward, even imperfectly, and that's what leads to transformatives. On. And when you declare obstacles or opportunities, you are choosing to see the world through a lens of empowerment. Life will never stop throwing challenges your way, but you get to decide what they mean. The same event that crushes one person can build another. The difference lies in the story you tell yourself. And when every morning you choose to see obstacles as fuel, as training, as preparation, nothing can stop you. And when you affirm, I radiate energy and confidence, you are programming your physiology. Because the way you carry yourself changes how you feel, and how you feel changes how others perceive you. Energy is contagious. Confidence is magnetic. If you wake up sluggish and tell yourself you're tired, you'll embody tiredness. But when you declare energy, when you embody confidence, your body responds. You breathe differently, you stand differently, you move differently, and the world responds to that shift. And when you say, I am focused and I will execute, you are cutting through the noise of distractions. We live in a world that's constantly pulling at your attention, but your focus is your power. Every morning when you remind yourself of your focus and your commitment to execution, you draw a line in the sand. You tell yourself, today I am not a wanderer, I am a warrior. Execution is where dreams come alive, and focus is the blade that cuts through everything that doesn't matter. And when you affirm, I am grateful for who I am becoming, you're acknowledging the journey. Too many people beat themselves up for not being there yet, wherever there is. But life is not about a finish line. It's about who you become along the way. Every morning when you give thanks for the person you're evolving into, you create fulfillment in the process, and fulfillment is what fuels perseverance. And when you remind yourself, my past does not define me, you're releasing the weight that keeps so many stuck. The past is a teacher, not a prison. Every morning you cut the chains that try to bind you to yesterday's mistakes, yesterday's failures, yesterday's pain. You remind yourself that today is fresh, clean, and open to new possibilities. And when you live like that, the past loses its grip and the future becomes limitless. And when you declare, I am surrounded by abundance, you tune your mind to see opportunities instead of problems. Scarcity is just a filter. It blinds you to what's available. But when you condition yourself every morning to see abundance, suddenly you notice doors you never saw before, people you never connected with before, solutions you never imagined before. Abundance was always there. You just had to train your eyes to see it. And when you affirm, I will give more than I take today, you're stepping into one of the greatest truths of life. The secret to living is giving. Contribution creates meaning. Every morning when you commit to giving, whether it's giving your energy, your kindness, your love, or your skill, you create a ripple effect that not only elevates others, but fills you with a sense of purpose that no achievement alone can bring. And when you tell yourself, I am unstoppable, you're building resilience into your DNA. Life will test you. It will knock you down. But when you condition yourself every morning with this truth, you program your nervous system to rise again and again. Being unstoppable doesn't mean you never fall. It means you always rise. It means nothing can permanently defeat you. That mindset is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary forces. And so imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and before the world can demand anything from you, you step into these words. You speak them with power. You embody them with energy. You feel them in your bones. How would your day change? How would your relationships shift? Ho! Well, much more would you accomplish. The truth is, the way you start your day is the way you live your life. And if you start it with these 14 powerful declarations, you don't just survive the day, you dominate it. You don't just go through the motions, you move with purpose, passion, and power. You create a standard for yourself that few ever dare to live by. And this is how you build an unstoppable mindset. This is how you condition yourself for greatness. Not once in a while, not only when it's easy, but every single morning with consistency, with energy, with absolute conviction. Because the words you speak to yourself each morning become the life you live each day. And when you choose to speak power, you choose to live power. And here's the secret most people never realize. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your standards. Every morning when you speak these declarations, you're raising your standards. You're saying to yourself, this is who I am, this is how I live, this is the energy I bring to the world. Goals might inspire you, but standards define you. If your standard is to live with gratitude, then no matter what happens, you find a reason to be thankful. If your standard is to choose progress over perfection, then no matter how messy the path looks, you keep moving forward. If your standard is to be unstoppable, then quitting simply doesn't exist in your vocabulary. And this is where transformation happens. Not in one big moment of glory, but in the small, consistent choices you make day after day. The way you condition your mind in the morning sets a chain reaction that echoes through everything you do. You start to notice that you walk differently, you speak differently, you carry yourself with a different level of certainty. People feel it when you walk into a room. You don't even have to say anything. Your energy speaks for you. That's the power of setting your state with these declarations. And now imagine this compounded over time. One day of practicing them creates momentum. 1 week builds confidence. 1 month rewires your brain. 1 year makes you unrecognizable in the best possible way. The person who used to hesitate, procrastinate, or doubt themselves becomes the person who leads, executes, and inspires others. That transformation begins with the decision you make each morning to program yourself with power instead of fear. And there's a reason why the world's most successful people guard their mornings. They know that how you start dictates how you finish. If you start with chaos, you carry chaos. If you start with clarity, you carry clarity. If you start with fear, you carry fear. But if you start with strength, with gratitude, with certainty, then you carry those states into everything you touch. These declarations aren't just nice words, they're your foundation. Without a strong foundation, even the tallest building crumbles. But with a foundation built on empowering beliefs, you can build a life higher and stronger than you've ever imagined. And let's talk about the times when life knocks you flat on your face. Because it will. There will be mornings when you don't want to get out of bed, when your problems feel heavier than your strength, when the voice of doubt screams louder than the voice of certainty. That's exactly when this practice becomes non-negotiable. Because the truth is, discipline carries you when motivation runs out. Motivation is great, but it's fleeting. Discipline is the anchor, and discipline comes from conditioning. If every morning, no matter how you feel, you stand tall, breathe deep, and declare these truths, you will build a muscle of resilience so strong that nothing can break it. And think back to a time when you thought you couldn't go on, but you did. When you believed you had nothing left, but somehow you kept moving. That wasn't luck. That was your inner power breaking through. The same power that carried you then is the power you awaken every morning with these declarations. You're reminding yourself of who you truly are. Not the labels others gave you, not the failures you've had, not the doubts you've carried. Who you truly are, a force of nature, capable of more than you've ever tapped into. And every word you speak to yourself either lifts you or limits you. When you tell yourself you're tired, weak, or not enough, your body and mind believe it. But when you tell yourself you're strong, capable, unstoppable, your body and mind also believe that. The difference lies in what you choose to feed yourself each morning. Words are nutrition for the soul. Feed it junk, and you feel drained. Feed it power, and you feel alive. And it's also important to understand that this isn't just about you. Yes, your mornings set your state, but your state affects everyone you encounter. When you walk into your workplace, your home, your community radiating gratitude, confidence, and certainty, you elevate others. Your energy gives them permission to rise too. You become a living example of what's possible, and that ripple effect can change lives in ways you may never even see. And think about it like this. Every morning you have two choices: to wake up as the version of you that repeats yesterday's limitations, or to wake up as the version of you that steps into growth, strength, and possibility. The first path leads to more of the same. The second path leads to transformation. And the beauty is you get to choose every single day. Not once in a while, every day. That's the gift and the responsibility of life. And when you declare, I can and I will, you're not only setting the tone for your actions, you're sending a message to your subconscious that quitting is not on the table. You're embedding certainty. And certainty is magnetic. People are drawn to those who radiate it. Opportunities flow to those who embody it. When you show up with certainty, even if you don't yet have all the answers, you figure them out along the way. Because certainty is not about knowing every step. It's about trusting yourself enough to take the first one. And then when you tell yourself obstacles are opportunities, you start living life as a game. Instead of dreading challenges, you start seeking them out. Because you realize that growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in resistance. Just like a muscle only grows under tension, your character only grows when life stretches you. Every challenge becomes training for your greatness. Every setback becomes a setup for your comeback. That's the perspective you build every morning when you condition yourself this way. And think about how different your life would look if you consistently lived by these truths. Imagine walking through the day with unshakable confidence, gratitude that overflows, and energy that infects every room you enter. Imagine handling setbacks with strength instead of fear, seeing opportunities where others see obstacles, and pushing forward when most people quit. That's not a fantasy. That's the reality you create when you own your mornings. And let's not forget, this is not about perfection. There will be days when you slip, days when you forget, days when your mind feels heavy. That's okay. What matters is not perfection. It's consistency. You don't need to get it right every time. You just need to keep coming back. Because every time you do, you strengthen the neural pathways that make these beliefs your default. Over time, it stops feeling like effort and it becomes who you are. And the truth is, life is too short to start your mornings on autopilot, too short to wake up and fall into patterns of doubt, fear, or negativity. You have the power to design how you experience each day, and it starts with the words you choose. Whoa. And you first open your eyes. These declarations are not magic, they're mastery. Mastery over your mind, mastery over your emotions, mastery over your life, and mastery is built in the moments when you decide to take control instead of letting life control you. And so the next time you wake up, remember this: your first thoughts, your first words, your first actions, they set the stage for everything that follows. Don't waste them. Don't hand them over to fear, distraction, or doubt. Claim them. Use them. Direct them, because the way you begin is the way you win. And when you win your mornings, you win your days. When you win your days, you win your weeks. When you win your weeks, you win your years. And when you win your years, you win your life. And if you truly want to take this to the highest level, you must understand that repetition without intention is just noise. Anyone can mumble words in the morning and hope something changes, but when you pour your whole being into these declarations, your breath, your energy, your voice, they stop being words and they become commands. They become orders to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind has no choice but to follow. That is how you create alignment between what you say, what you believe, and what you do. And think about an athlete stepping into competition. They don't walk in whispering, maybe I can do this. They roar with certainty. They visualize victory. They lock in on the outcome. That's the energy you need every morning. Not timid, not half-hearted, but all in. Because how you practice in the morning is how you perform throughout the day. And the day will test you. There will be setbacks, distractions, unexpected challenges. But if you've conditioned your mind first thing in the morning, you will meet those challenges like a warrior instead of a worrier. And when you declare, I am unstoppable, yeet. You're not denying that life will knock you down. You're reminding yourself that no knockdown can keep you down. It's not about living without challenges. It's about developing the resilience to rise every single time. That resilience is built in the morning. Every time you repeat these words with conviction, you're strengthening the muscle of persistence. And persistence is the difference between people who dream and people who achieve. And now let's go deeper into why these declarations matter. Words shape focus. Focus shapes emotion. Emotion shapes action. And action shapes destiny. So when you tell yourself, I am strong, I am worthy, I am focused, your focus shifts to strength, worthiness, and clarity. That focus creates emotions of confidence, energy, and drive. Those emotions lead to bold actions. And those actions lead to extraordinary results. The chain always begins with the words you speak. That's why what you say to yourself first thing in the morning is not just important, it's everything. And there will be days when the voice in your head tries to argue with you. It will say, you're not strong, you're not enough, you failed before. That voice is the echo of old patterns, old stories, old limitations. You can't silence it by ignoring it. You silence it by speaking louder, with truth, with conviction, with declarations that cut through the noise. Every time you declare power, that old voice weakens. Over time, it fades. And what takes its place is a new voice, a stronger voice, a voice that champions you instead of condemns you. And imagine walking into your day fueled by that voice, the voice that says you can and you will, you are worthy, you are unstoppable. How much differently would you show up to your work, your relationships, your goals? How much more would you risk, create, and achieve? This is not just positive thinking, it's strategic conditioning. It's rewiring your brain so that success, confidence, and resilience become your default states instead of fear, hesitation, or doubt. And here's the truth most people overlook. Your environment matters, but it is not as powerful as your internal dialogue. You can wake up in chaos, but if your words anchor you, you rise above it. You can face negativity from others, but if your words empower you, you don't absorb it. Your environment will always try to shape you, but when you take control of your language, you shape yourself. That's the real victory. And the people around you will start to notice. They'll see the energy you bring, the certainty in your presence, the passion in your actions. They may even ask, what changed? And you'll know that nothing external changed. You changed. You shifted the dialogue within, and that shift created a ripple effect without. That's how leaders are born. Not by titles or positions, but by mastering themselves first. And now think of the long-term effect of this practice. Each morning you are laying bricks. Some mornings the bricks are heavy. Some mornings the work feels hard. But every time you do it, you're building something solid. You're constructing a fortress of identity that no storm can tear down. Over time, that fortress becomes who you are. When adversity comes, you don't collapse. You stand tall because your foundation is unshakable. And remember, greatness isn't built in a single leap. It's built in the daily rituals you commit to, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. And this morning ritual, this practice of speaking power into your life is one of the simplest yet most profound tools you will ever use. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't require special equipment. All it demands is your intention, your voice, and your commitment. And the return on that investment is priceless. And the world doesn't reward intention. It rewards act. But action comes from state. And your state is shaped by the words you choose each morning. If you start with hesitation, you'll hesitate all day. If you start with confidence, you'll act with confidence all day. That's the edge you create for yourself when you commit to this ritual. It's not luck. It's not chance. It's intentional conditioning. And picture this. You wake up tomorrow, and instead of dragging yourself out of bed, you rise with energy. You look in the mirror, and instead of seeing flaws, you see strength. You breathe deeply, and instead of worrying about yesterday or fearing tomorrow, you center yourself in the gift of today. You speak these declarations not as a wish, but as a command. And in that moment, you set the tone for everything to come. You've created momentum before the day even begins. That momentum carries you through every challenge, every opportunity, every decision. And by the end of the day, you realize you didn't just survive, you thrived. And then you do it again the next morning and the next and the next until it becomes who you are, until it feels unnatural not to start your day this way, until your default state is power, not fear. And that is when your life truly begins to shift. That's when you look back months or years later and barely recognize the old version of yourself, the one who doubted, hesitated, or played small. Because now you've stepped into the person you were always meant to be. And this is how transformation happens, not by waiting for the perfect opportunity, not by hoping someone else saves you, but by deciding every single morning to save yourself, by deciding to fuel your mind with power, your body with energy, and your spirit with certainty, by deciding that you are in control of your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. And as you live this way, the world opens up. The opportunities you once thought were out of reach appear within your grasp. The relationships you once thought you didn't deserve flow into your life. The strength you once thought you lacked becomes second nature. And it all starts with the choice to own your mornings. And because the truth is, you don't get to choose the challenges that life throws at you, but you do get to choose how you meet them. And when you've conditioned yourself every morning to see life as a gift, to see obstacles as opportunities, to see yourself as unstoppable, you meet those challenges with a fire that nothing can extinguish. You stop living in reaction and you start living in creation. And that is the power of these declarations. That is the power of deciding every morning to rise